The Boston Bruins lose 6-4 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. The defense played so poorly, I can't name one of them that had a good game. The Toronto Maple Leafs top line of Matthews, Marner, and Knives owned the Bruins all night. Swayman wasn't bad, but he also wasn't elite. And Pastrnak got his first multi-goal game of the year. As always, I will cover the highs and the lows of the Boston Bruins 6-4 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already done so, thank you, and let's get into it. As a Bruins fan who lives in Toronto, every time the Bruins play the Leafs, I will admit it feels like an important game. This year feels different as the Bruins team isn't as good as other years. This year's Leaf team has looked very good, and each matchup has been harder to watch, and this one was no different. I'm beginning to realize that, I have my expectations. We look at this Bruins team and we think, you know what, they're supposed to be at least decent this year, and more, I look at this Bruins team and I think they're just okay. They're not that great. They're just okay. And we get on them and say this player's terrible and this player's terrible and this player does this. Well, you know what? They're just average at best. So I'm going to lower my expectations. The first period, the Leafs outskated the Bruins, besides the Bruins' third line. Sacco went back to the line of Lindholm, Marchand, and Pastrnak. Honestly, at this point, I don't know why he is. I know he's loading up. He's trying to get some offense, but at the same time, it kind of like leaves out Zaka and that second line and it makes them almost useless. I want to be a fan of this line, but I have felt that Pasternak's chemistry with Zaka shouldn't be broken up. This isn't the reason they're losing, though. This is the least of their worries. I'm just pointing out something that I'm noticing. Toronto had Austin Matthews back in the lineup, who had been out with an injury. The Leafs, though, they get on the board early at 3:29 of the first period as the Bruins defense decide to stand still and allow Marner to hit a wide open McCabe in the slot, and he shoots one past Swayman, and it's 1-0 Toronto. Like, if you watch the replay of this, it honestly looks like Lowry is standing in quicksand. He doesn't know what to do. He looks left, he looks right. He literally doesn't know what to do. And you have both defense bunch up on one side of the ice. Marner looks over there, and you can actually see the smile on his face when he sees McCabe coming in from the point. He can just nail him there. And Swayman has no chance. After the goal, the Bruins seem to have some life and get themselves back in the game, which kind of astonishes me, but it is what it is. They're tight on the forecheck and they're getting pucks on net. The Bruins get a power play and you hope the Bruins do something with it. But if you watch this team this year, you know they won't. Unfortunately, the power play almost looked worse than we've seen all year. They couldn't get anything happening, no flow, and a total waste of the opportunity. The ugly power play is becoming more and more an issue that could sink this hockey club. Like, we keep focusing on Swayman, and you know what? That's your right. If you want to dog the goalie all the time, fans did that with Rask. Rask was elite, but fans are doing it again. This team has so many issues, and the power play being the worst in the NHL is one of the biggest. The fact that this team can barely score. Yes, they scored 4 goals in this game, but usually they can't get over the hump and get 2. Like I said at the beginning, this was Pasternak's first multi-goal game of the year. They have absolutely no pressure on the power play, and teams can easily defend it. So many times this season, they have an opportunity to gain momentum with the power play, but instead, they end up demoralizing themselves instead. The Bruins look dejected after allowing the Leafs to apply a lot of pressure for the remainder of the period, and the Bruins defense look lost at times. Osterley was back in the lineup, but he was a giveaway machine and looked to have no confidence in himself. Lowry looked like he was skating in quicksand and wasn't moving his feet at all. The second period was a lot better for the Bruins, but still not a solid period for them. The Leafs get on the board early when Matthew Knies goes to the net, uncontested by the way, and gets his stick on the point shot to deflect it over Swayman to make it 2-0. Knies is a big body who the Bruins shouldn't let get space in front of their net, ever. Seconds later, the third line decides to apply some pressure right off the faceoff, and Geekie gets a rebound wide open and pops it in and makes it 2-1. Geekie, since Sacco took over, has been playing a lot better hockey and has found his scoring touches of late. I'm not saying he's the answer by any means. It's just great to see him scoring. I just wish this team knew how to score goals. The Bruins and the Leafs share penalties to negate a Bruins power play as Lindholm takes a penalty seconds into it. To be totally honest, when it happened, I was like, oh, thank God, I don't have to watch this power play anymore. Unlike most times the Bruins play the Leafs defense had been playing a great game, blocking shots and keeping the Bruins to the outside, not allowing them in the net front presence. The Leafs defense this year has been phenomenal. I live in Toronto, so I get to watch a lot of their games, and I have to hand it to the Leafs this year. If the Bruins play them in the first round, the Leafs are going to smoke the Bruins. The exact opposite was happening at the other end from Boston, as they're not clogging up lanes and they're giving the Leafs positioning in front of the net. The good news is Frederic wins a draw to McAvoy, who gives it right back to Frederic in the slot, and we have a 2-2 hockey game. It was Frederic's first point since December 7th. Recently, hockey analysts have been saying that Trent Frederic's trade value had been going down based on his play of late. I did think he played a good game last game against the Rangers, so this is well-deserved goal. I still think he is most likely getting traded this year. The period ends and it's a 2-2 hockey game. The third period, though, the Bruins' defense woes continue and the Leafs apply all the pressure. At 3:43 of the third, Nyes once again is left at his own devices in front of the net and does a spinorama, and it's 3-2. I truly don't understand why the defense are letting the Leafs have net front and leaving their goalie hang out to dry. Seconds later, though, Pastrnak, who's a Leafs killer, gets an opportunity in the slot and puts it in, and it's tied 3-3. I know Frederic needed this goal, but I felt Pastrnak really needed that one as well. Just over a minute later, though, Austin Matthews makes a nice pass out front to who else? Matthew Nyes, who puts one top shelf over Swayman from the slot. It was a pattern all night that Matthew Nyes would be right in the slot, no one even near him. I'd understand if there was a defenseman on him and then, he gets the rebound or anything like that. Nope, he's just all alone in front of the net and he's just shooting it in and it's going in. Like I said before, I don't think Swayman played bad. I would love him just to stop one of them, but at this point, it really didn't matter because the defense in front of him was non-existent. We now have a 4-3 hockey game. The Bruins pull Swayman to get the extra attacker, and Marner gets the empty net goal. He gets the empty net goal because of bad puck decisions. The Bruins, for some reason, and I truly don't get this, Pastrnak shoots it in to try and get a whistle or something. I don't know at this point. Like, you have possession of the puck. Why do you continue just to give it away? It's beyond me at this point. The Bruins aren't done, though, as they pull Swayman again, and Pastrnak gets his 15th of the year, and you think the Bruins might pull it off. And it's 5-4. Unfortunately, Austin Matthews gets the next empty net goal to ice it, and the Bruins lose 6-4. I will give this, Pasternak's effort on this one is he really was trying. I said before, I didn't think Swayman played bad, but I also didn't think he played elite. And he didn't make any of those oh my God saves. But I can't be like, oh my God, it's Swayman's fault, or, because we always blame the goaltending. But man, that defense, like, wow, they played bad. Like, I would love to blame him, but I just can't on this one. I get it. He's getting paid a lot of money and, you want to complain about his salary, but this is a team game and, man, the team stunk. They scored some goals, but that's because the Leafs goalie didn't play that well at all. The Bruins defense looked like a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off out there. The Matthews, Nyes, Marner line was unreal, and they made the Bruins look like an AHL team when they were on the ice. The Bruins lose their third in a row, and they are 1-4-0 in their last 5. Sweeney either fixes the power play or starts moving pieces for futures. I know he won't, though, because that's not what the Bruins do. They continue to kick the can down the road, and this team is just going to be middle of the line, maybe make the playoffs, maybe not make the playoffs, but you know what? The Jacobs will get their money. The Bruins just aren't good enough this season, and we really should have seen this by looking at the lineup. All year, all they did was get bigger and slower, while the NHL got younger and faster. They only truly had one power play opportunity, but it looked so bad tonight, it was almost embarrassing. I thought Pastrnak looked pretty good out there, and the third line played a good game, but truly, that's about it. Lindholm was great on the draws again, but made a lot of questionable decisions with the puck tonight, and made some forced passes that got intercepted. I personally felt the Bruins defense cost them the game with their puck management and costly giveaways. The defense made so many errors out there, I lost count. Even at the end of the game, when it's 5-4, McAvoy ices the puck on a dump in when he had all the time in the world to dump it in. He had about 2 feet before he got to center ice, and then he decides to try and dump it in, and we get an icing. They had some momentum there, and he just pissed it all away. Anytime tonight I thought they were back in the game, the Matthews line would step on the ice and remind me the Bruins just aren't good enough. That line couldn't be contained and walked all over the Bruins. Carlo and McAvoy had some of their worst games of the year, and it was against a division rival. But that's been the story all year. We either have the defense playing well and the offense is inept, or we have the offense playing well and the defense is inept, or we have one playing well and the goaltending is just letting everything in all the time. We just can't have a complete game. It's going to be a long year. But for me, it's a time I lower my expectations and just enjoy the ride. That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you, and I'll see you next time.